Thank you, Madam Chair. I find it interesting that we bring up draft EISs. We don't point out that all of this is subject to review, and just the idea that NEPA is a gold standard, except when NEPA is actually being used, and now NEPA and the people carrying it out are somehow villains. And Mr. McLaren, in a recent interview with the Seattle Times, you said that what is happening now is the decision-making process is being politicized and removed from the science. And I find that extraordinary to be coming from you, the person who handpicked somebody to lead the Bristol Bay Watershed Assessment, that said in a public meeting that politics are as big or a bigger factor than science in your Clean Water Act veto decision. Mr. McLaren, isn't it true that a preemptive veto such as the one you undertook wasn't necessary because you had no idea if the Army Corps of Engineers was even going to grant a permit? Isn't it the case that unless the Corps is going to grant a permit, that a veto is unnecessary?
So first, there was no veto, as I explained in my testimony, but we did, after 3 years of science, impose restrictions on the development in the watershed, but that was based on good science. It was a very participatory process, so there was no pre-decision of that, as Mr. Collier testified. That certainly was not the case. We went into this with open eyes and open ears and heard the science and made some decisions.
So you're saying the 404C was not used originally?
We did use the 404C process, which Congress has provided the authority and the power for EPA to use. We've used that, EPA has used that very sparingly over the years, but this is a case where the science really drove that and merited it.
So everyone on the committee's probably dealt with the Corps of Engineers in some form or fashion. And I've yet to see the Corps of Engineers get in a hurry about anything. I've yet to see them sidestep any processes or try to fast track anything. Quite honestly, it's been just the opposite of that. There's been a lot of talk about the politicalization of this process. What exactly about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and its career military team is politicized? Because I've not seen that with any of them that I've dealt with.
So I didn't state that the Corps of Engineers was politicized, but I did state that the EPA process to withdraw the proposed determination appears to have been politicized.
But it's the Corps of Engineers that's doing this permit.
So all of the federal agencies do provide input into that, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the EPA, several other federal agencies have pointed out that the process is deeply flawed at this point that the Corps is undertaking.